Reed, are we in the game?
Yo, are we in the game? We're in the game. Blessings. Okay, nice. Why is my seat wet? Okay. Hopefully I didn't piss myself.
It can be scary. We all understand.
All right, what's good, everyone? How we were doing today? Good. All right. Interesting. Feels very interesting coming back into this space of speaking to people. My most recent experience, just for context, we just came out of a 10-day Vipassana led by Dave. So this was 10 days of silent meditation. And I remember the first time we had to speak was like 9 days in, and we had to do it in front of the whole group. And I think mine was the worst out of everyone. It was very embarrassing. I stood up and I was just like, I forgot how to talk. And I felt like a baby lamb just trying to figure out how to communicate. But yeah, so it's interesting putting myself in front of people all over again.
Yeah, but those talks in the relational presence at the end of Vipassana, they're not really about someone being eloquent. They're about someone getting up and being authentic. So actually, usually it's the people that think they didn't do well, you know, or they did the worst. It's actually the best ones. Because it's not about getting up and giving a constructed speech. It's about just getting up and letting whatever naturally wants to come out, come out.
100%. But I created a whole story around it. I was like, coming out of it, I was like, why was mine so bad compared to everyone else's? And then the next morning, I was like, what? Maybe that's me. You know, maybe I'm just shit at speaking. Maybe I'm gonna need to like take a few weeks to actually learn how to communicate all over again. I literally thought like I'd lost some brain cells or something. But anyways, it's all good. Here we are. We're speaking now. All right, so context as to what we're doing here today. This is a meditation and truth talk event. I think this is our 7th one, right, Dave? Probably.
I don't know. Are we counting the one we did the other day?
So the context and what it is that we're doing is we're coming together in community with the intention of finding deeper truth around what's happening in the collective. And there have been countless times I've been in different spiritual communities over the past maybe 8 years or so. And and I've found that there's an avoidance of truth in a big way. It's like people just want to hear what is appealing to the ego. You know, and there are many times I've been there and it's just like everyone's just, floating in this love and light space and saying everything that wants to be heard by the ego. And really what our intention was to come together and inquire, but willingness to inquire without egoic attachment in a way. And that means that there may be conversations that bring up discomfort or, conflict, And of my experience of living with Reese and also with Thor, I don't know where he is right now, there have been many moments of conflict or discomfort, all in the name of finding truth, deeper truth. And so really this feels like, and even with Dave, since we've started working together recently, conflict, a lot of conflict, butting heads. But why? Because we want to find deeper truth. We care about truth. And so the intention is to bring that energy outwards and invite you guys into that same field, I guess. So that's number one. We're going to do a truth talk. We're going to speak about a certain topic. We're also going to do a meditation at the beginning and also at the end. I'll help cleanse the palate, get everyone on the same frequency. Dave will close us off with his deep wisdom and experience I finally got to really appreciate after doing 10 days of silent meditation with him. So I'm excited for that. With that being said, any thoughts before we dive in?
Want to say happy birthday to Justice? Beautiful human. Yeah, give him a round of applause. Go for it. He deserves it. He's made it through 22 years of life, survived despite a few crashes along the way. And it turned out a pretty wonderful human being. A shame you didn't sit with us the last 10 days, but here you've been doing other wonderful things. So good to have you here.
Yeah, so right at the end, when we're done, we'll be celebrating Justice's birthday. So everyone give him a big hug. And yeah, I'm excited to groove with you. Reese will be on the decks. So that's going to be awesome as well. All right, guys, let's dive in. So in your own time, you can close your eyes. Take a moment to come back to yourself. Just allowing yourself to become present to the breath. Feeling every inhale and every exhale. Allowing yourself to become present to sensation in the body. Taking a moment to really connect with yourself. We live in a world filled with distraction. Every single little thing is trying to pull us away, whether it is work, social media, even basic interactions. They pull us away from intimacy with self. So really taking this moment to fully be with you. Okay, now we're going to start off by doing a body scan, starting at the top of the head. So bringing awareness to the very top point of the head. And just becoming aware of sensations that may be in this area. Just watching it from a space of non-attachment. And gradually, slowly coming down towards the eyes. Feeling sensations with curiosity. Going gradually down towards the mouth. To the neck, throat. Bring your awareness down towards your shoulders. Down towards your heart. Going down towards your belly. Gradually going down towards your genitals. Going down towards your thighs. Knees. And finally ending off towards the feet. And from this space of awareness, I want to invite you to tune into the sensation that is bringing you the most or calling the most of your attention. Whether it's a tingling sensation in the chest or a tingling sensation in the feet, whatever it may be, just bringing your full presence, your full awareness towards that part of the body. Just getting curious about it. What is the story that you have? What is the story I have tied to this sensation in my body? Maybe the sensation might make you think that there is something wrong with you, or maybe you have a belief about this sensation that constricts your full expression, your full acceptance of who you are in this moment. And if you don't, just remain curious with it, present with it. Just allowing yourself to become fully intimate with this part of the body, this sensation. A lot of the time we put labels on sensations and we constrict our full potential because of these labels. So just allowing them to drop away with your awareness. And when you're ready, taking one big inhale and holding it at the top for as long as you can. Just feeling all of the energy rise to the top of the head. Cleansing the palate. And in your own time, you can exhale with a big sigh. One more big inhale, hold it at the top for as long as you can. And in your own time, releasing with a big sigh. Just allowing yourself to come back into the room. Coming back to your body. And opening your eyes in your own time.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, just to recap, we've just come out of 10 days of silent meditation, about 3 days ago. And so yeah, that's very present in my field today. each day has become, it's like I've learned a new thing about myself.
What are you learning?
I think today specifically, or even yesterday actually, I realized how much time I have available. It's like before the Vipassana, I saw that I was literally like, I remember looking at my screen time and I'd see there'd be like 9 hours or 10 hours or 11 hours of screen time. So what was I doing on my phone for that long? And when I reflect back on it, I realized that I was literally just scrolling, or I was distracting myself with some random social media posts or whatever it may be. It's just random pointless stuff. And now, because I feel like I have a deeper level of presence to my life, I'm not really leaking energy in that way anymore. So I wake up at like, 5, 6 in the morning and I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And I feel like that for the most of the day, actually. It's like I don't know what to do.
It's one of the main things that people find when they start to reclaim their time. Because when you actually are just awake, like if you wake up really early, if you're someone here, I know Alicia's someone who's part of the 5 a.m. club, 4 a.m. club. And if you wake up really early, it's one of the things you get used to. You're just like, I got so much time. Like, what do I do with it? Yeah. And you can easily just fritter it away. Binge a Netflix series, which I'm not against. There's some great TV series out there in this day and age. But you can also do amazing things. You can build a world. You can choose to master skills. I feel like once you've been meditating for 10, 12, 14 hours a day, you're like, it's not just meditation. Imagine how good I could get at anything if I did it for 10 hours a day, and how quickly I could get good at it. So you just start to open up these avenues of choice that didn't exist before.
100%, yeah. There's definitely like a death of an old identity in many ways. And I think on day 7 specifically, I started to like drop into this empty state where I was just watching the body and disidentifying with the body in many ways. And so coming out of that, I'm like, who am I now? And what do I actually want to do? How do I want to spend my time and my energy? What is the thing that brings me the most joy and can actually create positive impact for the people around me?
What's worth doing?
I've realized how much I actually enjoy meditating. And so I definitely want to like upkeep that. I want to meditate. And from that space, that meditative space, that space of sovereignty, really, it's like I really want to abide in the energy of sovereignty. It's like this energy of completion.
Totally. But let's say that's finite, right? That's the thing that most people think is infinite. I'm going to keep on doing some things for happiness and life is going to repay me every now and then with happiness. But let's say that's not how it works. Let's say you get to a point where you're just happy. You got your happiness skill. So what else? Now that you're happy and you don't have to do anything, it's all just extra. It's all just icing. You got the cake. Then what's worth doing?
To me, it's about how I can benefit others from that space of happiness. And I think one of the things that has brought me the most joy is like I would tune into this in meditation. I'd see the planet and I see the amount of suffering that we create. It's like we literally create our own suffering based off of all of these conditions that have been put onto us since we were young. And I feel like we're just living with these clouds over our heads. And until we were able to look over the cloud, or just until it drifts away, we don't really see truth. And I feel like one of the things that brings me the most joy is, number one, removing my own clouds, treating my body as an experiment in many ways, my own mind as an experiment, and seeing how many clouds I can remove. And then from that space of awareness, helping others remove their own clouds,
Right, because it's like lunch is great, right? I'm sure we all love lunch. But what's better than lunch? It's like buying lunch for a friend. And you got to put your own oxygen mask on first, but then after that, it's like, okay, the joy in life is spreading that. It's not giving it to yourself. Yeah. You ever see Blood Diamond, the Leonardo DiCaprio movie? There you go, Justice. That's one potentially for the birthday movie watch. But there's a line in there where he says, "Will God ever forgive us for what we've done to each other?" And it's like that. We're consistently going around. I think because people are in pain, then what you've got to give someone else is pain. And so it's like, I think a lot of people are just walking around splashing pain on other people. But then when you get to the point where it's like, no, actually, I feel happiness and love. And it's not this candy floss happiness I thought it was going to be. It's just there. It's just settled. Then finally, maybe we can start to make better gifts, right?
100%. I mean, even if you look at the world leaders at the moment, imagine if they got to a point where they reached this state and we wouldn't be seeing all the killing and the wars and all the chaos that's happening in the world because they would be content within. They wouldn't need to be projecting all of that outwards. And so I think a beautiful world can be created when we start to do this kind of work.
Yeah, because it's just those things that everything becomes a cliche until you start to really understand it and get meaning for it yourself. You know, like you might have heard some songs when you were younger that seemed like soppy love songs that were nothing. They're just like background elevator music. And then finally you get your heart broken or you're in love and the meaning for that song just drops for you. And it's like that with leadership. To lead is to serve. Why else from a healthy position would you want to lead? You know, unless it's ego-driven, it's got to be love-driven. Because I want to lead because I want to give goodness to other people, right? I want to create a better structure for us all to live. Is there another healthy reason for wanting to lead? Except for maybe the joy and fun of getting into trouble with a bunch of your friends, you know? And I don't think that's what Putin's doing. But I think that there's an argument for that going on a roll and just seeing what happens. But I think that the real deep reason is just like, how good can we make this? How much better can I help other people to make this world that give us high?
Totally agree. So yeah, that's really where I'm at coming out of this whole experience. Definitely a desire to like really look at where I want to take life and where I want to start pouring energy into. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I did have a question, a topic I wanted to inquire about, unless there's anything else that you want to speak into on this.
No, it's great you've got one because I was just completely like, yeah.
Good. So yeah, I've got two sides to it. I'll start with the first side, and that is, I'll give you context. So yesterday, I was meditating in my bedroom and I was doing some work. Shiva was also there. We were brainstorming about this project or whatever we were working on. And we're like, all right, cool, let's just meditate for like 25 minutes before we get into a workflow because we were just severely distracted. And I remember as soon as we drop into meditation, all I hear is like some Norwegian rap screaming next door. And I'm like, bruv, what the hell is going on? And it was pissing me off. So anyways, I did my best.
So why are you hiding at the back today?
Bring yourself, bro. Stop hiding. And so, you know, I was doing the thing. I was like, you know, in Vipassana, sit, feel, don't react, you know. And I was sitting there for like 15, 16, 17 minutes. And I was getting more and more pissed. I was like, is there something wrong with me? Am I not doing Vipassana correct? Or how, like, did I just waste 10 days? Like, and he wouldn't stop. It was ridiculous. Anyways, long story short, eventually I just get out and I start banging on his door because he's got headphones in. And he still didn't hear it. And he was still just like doing his thing. And then I start trying to open the door and he's got it locked. I'm like, for fuck's sake. So I start shouting through the door and he didn't hear that either. And then eventually I walk into the kitchen, I see Reese, I see his girl, and I see Justice and Jay and whoever else, and they're just looking at me like, what the fuck? You just came out of 10-day Vipassana. Like, can you not just sit, feel the sensations and do nothing? So, I guess there was a part of me that felt like there is value in feeling anger or feeling an emotion and still being able to express that emotion, you know? When I started studying this whole non-dual space, when I had this first dissolution, I eventually got into this state of spiritual bypassing where I would say, for example, someone would cross my boundaries. I'd walk down the street and maybe someone would barge into me or something. But because I was in this state of non-duality and I am no one, I am nothing, I'm just feeling sensations. It's okay, barge into me, no problem. And then I realized how much repression there was in my system that was building up again and again and again and again. And so, I guess coming out of that whole experience, I felt like, no, it's okay sometimes to feel sensations and then react, And so I guess what I wanted to do with you was inquire about that, because I think a few people misunderstood that on some level. And when is it okay to react to sensation?
Am I stepping into a domestic here?
What do you mean?
Just playing. But I think that you actually just stepped on, I think, one of the major misunderstandings that people have about Vipassana. And it's this idea that the whole point is to not feel. But no, it's to feel everything and react to nothing. But there are intermediary stages to that, right? You're not just going to start to, new feeling, not be able to react to it. As you continue to expand, as you continue to accept more and more emotion, more and more feeling, there are going to be things that you're going to be reactive to. And I think people confuse a lack of expression with a lack of reactivity. Somebody can be there completely and utterly denying themselves, but boiling on the inside, right? And we know that person, that it's like, no, it's not all good. No, it's there. It's you're locking it up. But just because you're smiling in someone's face and pretending like it's all good and pretending like you're love and light and all you've got to offer the world is candy floss, it doesn't make it a reality. What it means is that you're uncomfortable with that aspect of yourself being shown, either to yourself or then to others. And so the first thing that happens with Vipassana more than anything else is that number one has to be comfortability with authenticity. Because you are where you are, right? You're not Buddha sitting on a cloud done with all this stuff. You're Leo. And you've been through the trials and tribulations you've been through and you've ended up where you are and you're more developed than you used to be, but there's work ahead, right? And I'm me and I'm not perfect and there's work ahead. And so the best I can do for myself is in the moment be authentic. And then from there are degrees up, right? Because authenticity has to be the baseline, but then it's like, can I feel this thing? And in feeling it, can it not have the power to hijack my system? Or actually, is it impossible now for me to feel this thing and it not to hijack my system? And you just got to be honest with yourself about that, right? Are you riding the horse or is the horse riding you? One's a good time, the other one, you probably end up a cripple. And we just got to expand that. We got to expand that ability to be able to harness more and more powerful forces that we have inside. But if sometimes we're losing that battle, the best thing to do is just to be honest with the fact we're losing that battle. And that's where you can start again.
Is that losing the battle, though?
To me, every failure is a step towards success. So losing a battle isn't a problem because you're in a war. And you're in a war with everything that wants to hijack your system. So yes, it may be losing a battle. And there's no problem with admitting that. There's no problem with admitting right now I am not strong enough to be able to fully feel this emotion and have it not take me over. But ultimately, there will be a point where you are strong enough to feel every emotion and you can taste it like a fine wine as opposed to it being a torrent running through you.
Is that strength?
Yes.
All right, so...
and that might... This is the thing with objectivity versus subjectivity, right? Mm-hmm. Because at a certain point in someone's experience, it might not be strength for them because that's not available to them. So they can't get to the point where they can imagine them being broad enough to be able to take all of that. But it does not mean it's not possible. The most strength that person might have in that moment is for them to express that. And why would that be? Because Vipassana is just a form of internal alchemy, right? And stagnation is beneath anger, not above it. Because stagnation is the alma mater, the raw material, coming to a state of rest and rot. And what that person might need is they might need the fire of anger to alchemize that. So for that person, subjectively, that might be the best thing for them to go through.
So what you're saying is the highest path is to get to a point where you feel sensation, you don't react. So hypothetically speaking, let's say, for example, you as Buddha are walking down the street, someone comes up to you, they slap you in the face. You think the highest path is to be okay with receiving that slap and not doing anything about it?
It's like Jesus gave us the answer, right? If someone would slap you in the face, turn the other cheek. And that's because Jesus and Buddha cannot be slapped in the face, because there is no face, because they're beyond what we identify as the body, and they're beyond Reese being a separate entity that can cause me harm. That slap is non-threatening from that position. That is energy dancing. But if Reese is Reese and I'm Dave and he slaps me, I'm like, yo, bro, I thought we were friends. Then I'm not beyond that. I've just received harm because we're separate beings. But that's why everyone needs to act at the level that's real for them.
But I feel like even Christ was a being who reacted. Like, say, for example, the story where he goes into, I can't remember where he went into.
The temples, the synagogue.
Yes, and there were the money changers. And then obviously he felt anger in that moment because they were disrespecting God or they were disrespecting the space. So he flipped the tables. That to me is feeling an emotion and reacting to it.
There's a difference between reactivity and conscious choice. He can feel anger, and you're supposing and assuming that his action came from a position of reacting to that emotion as opposed to him feeling and choosing to act. And we're both making separate judgments and assumptions about the position of Christ's character into that moment.
Okay, I understand. So feel and then respond.
Yeah, but exactly. Your original question is about, can someone be at the point where that thing can be received genuinely and it's non-threatening, right? The slap in the face when it's not bypassed. So to me, the answer is that we're all in this state between, as we've been discussing the last 10 days, between the wave and the particle. And if someone is more towards the particle, it's going to be very difficult for them to receive a slap in the face neutrally and it not be a form of harm. If somebody came and chopped my arm off right now, I'm not quite at the level where I'm not going to be upset about that. I'm going to have a bleeding arm and it is going to hurt and it is going to upset me. I've only got one more left. You know what I mean? I'm quite attached to it. But if Buddha was sitting here, it'd be a different story. You know, dude's at a different level.
I mean, I don't disagree. I see what you're saying.
And I think the hard thing is that it is by its very nature triggering for us to accept those things that are reactive to us. So if we're coming in contact with a thing that's reactive to us, like this thing you're talking to, it's hard for you to deal with that with neutrality because it is a thing that makes you reactive. And there'll be the same things for me, and it's like, oh, that's going to throw me out of my system. And then the danger is to want to justify that as a strength as opposed to recognize it as what it is.
Cool. So the practice is the reaction or the situation occurs, sensation arises in the body. What we do is we observe the sensation from a state of non-attachment, and we bring full presence, full awareness to it, and we don't let it shake our state. And then gradually that sensation loses its grip over us. So say, for example, hypothetically speaking, we have a fear of public speaking, right? What does that do? Okay, it brings sensation in the body. There is a tingling sensation in the belly or the chest or the throat. There is a heart pounding, for example. So what we do is we observe that sensation. We recognize that it's not us. We don't identify with the sensation. We dissolve the story that's attached to the sensation, and we get to a point where it no longer affects our decision making. We just do the thing unconditional to what?
It's not that it doesn't affect your decision making. It's that you have choice. There's no compulsion, right? It's you being forcefully pushed into something that's the problem. Was having a range of choice based upon your sensory data, that's just life, right? You can choose this path, you can choose that path, that's your choice. But you see, even with your whole explanation, the battleground isn't stepping up in front of 30, 40, 50, 100, 1,000 people. The battleground is how you respond to your sensation. And that could be anything. Some people feel anxiety over signing contracts. Some people feel anxiety over personal conflict. Some people feel anxiety over stepping up in front of a group of people and talking. But the common denominator is that they're feeling anxiety. And that anxiety is not anxiety. That's an abstract concept that we've created as humans. That anxiety is felt by a human because it's a sensation in the body. So you going towards the sensation in the body is a step closer to reality. You name the demon. And we all know what that does.
So let's define what it means to feel a sensation, right? I think this is a thing that was maybe misunderstood on some levels, maybe by myself and I think specifically with Thor when I had that conversation with him. So tell me what does it mean to actually feel a sensation? Yeah.
A sensation is anything that you feel with your touch sense. And so not even on a bodily level, because you can get so fine that you feel other things, right? But you are really feeling it's really occurring. So right now, in the center of my palm, there's a multitude of sensations. And as I focus on it, I can start to feel the group of them moving around and swirling together. And then I can focus on one of them. And it doesn't need to be, my palm in all of that is the least essential part of that, right? There are things there that I feel with my sensory awareness. That's it. And so what it does is it brings us all down to this baseline level. It democratizes the practice because it gives us all an avenue to explore reality that is your direct experience. No one needs to tell you about it.
From personal experience during the 10 days, there were moments where I'd sit, I'd feel sensation. I just see it's like, all right, it's tingling or it's pounding or it's energy moving or whatever. And then I felt like there was a block in my ability to dissolve the sensation. So what I would do when I'd reach that block is I would inquire about what the story was. And sometimes when I would inquire about the story, it would bring up a memory. And that memory would come from childhood. So it's like, say, for example, I feel the sensation in my body, it's fear. Why do I feel that? Oh, maybe because when I was 6 years old, I see this vision of me speaking in front of maybe my class, and someone in the back of the class is laughing at me. And so I shut down my expression based off of that. And that's like stuck in my system. So to me, what I feel like the next level is of clearing sensations is to not just feel the sensation, but it's to actually go into the story and really like fall into it and feel, I feel scared. I'm a 6-year-old child, and really like feel what I was feeling in that moment. And then once you fully felt that to that extent, then you can actually take a step back and watch.
I might offend you a bit when I say this, but the only essential part of all of that is fully feel. Everything else is just an adjunct and an addition or a degradation or a move away. And so you're going to notice that might feel essential to you in the beginning because you're still grappling with the personality layer of your being. But there's going to become a point where personality is just as unessential as palm in this discussion. And so by you attaching yourself to all these concepts that you need to go through to get down to a basic truth, you're, one, vastly overcomplicating the process, and two, anchoring yourself on a shallow layer of your being. And that's the reason why you're getting to a block where, like you're saying, you can't dissolve these things. But the point isn't to dissolve them. The point is to fully feel them, and the natural state of them fully felt will become emptiness.
Well, let's assume not everyone is on that level. Do you not think that they would have to go through a different process?
It's not being on a level because you're making verbs nouns. You're doing a bunch of things. You're not a thing. And so you're not on that level. You're quite deep comparatively when it comes to like a human level or whatever like that. But then because you're taking all these actions, you're locking yourself in a state which you could very easily not take those actions, not do those things, and then you're taking away barriers between you and a deeper state. But it's just, what you're basically identifying is all those things you mentioned are just all the things that we're all naturally attached to, right? I'm Leo, and I got this story about my life, and these things happened to me, and that makes me who I am, and now I'm feeling this, and by me replaying those stories, it makes me identify more with who I am. And then we go through that. But there's going to become a point, and this really isn't an insult, because we're all like this, me included. There's going to become a point where you're less in love with the story of yourself. And usually that happens, one, when you've fully accepted yourself, and two, when you've just played it enough. The record has played enough. You know, like, no offense to Tracy Chapman, because she's a great artist, right? But my younger sister, shout out to Rose, I love you, Rose, so no offense to you as well. But my younger sister used to have this habit when we were kids, where she would play the same song again and again and again. And she'd have an album, right? This was back when we had CDs. But she wouldn't go to the next song in the album. She'll just play the same song again. And I can't hear Fast Car another time without being taken back to being a teenager with my sister playing that 30 times to herself in a room. And I'm just like, you know she's got other songs, Rose. You know you can listen to another thing. And there comes a point where it's like the Buddha calls this distaste. You get to a point where you've got distaste with the world, right? And really, this is the world we're all grappling with. So there comes a point where you've just heard it enough. It's like, you know what? I'm done with the Leo story. And then there comes a point when you've had that distaste with the Leo story where you become neutral to the Leo story. And then there comes a point where there is no Leo story. And the whole thing dissolves.
Interesting perspective. I wanted to kind of segue this into my second question, which is, look, the main reason as to why we're doing Vipassana is to liberate ourselves from suffering.
I would say that that's a mechanism for the greater goal. That's like that's the carrot, right? Oh, yeah, we're going to help you out, liberate you from suffering. But really, I feel like if I have to tap into why we're really doing Vipassana is where we're becoming vessels for the highest possible thing to act through us and manifest itself on this earth. And through liberating ourselves from suffering, we're allowing a clearer channel to act through us, and to allowing more of God, or whatever you believe that is, more of love, more of light to be here. And we're just funnels for that.
I would say each Vipassana will gradually take you closer to that state of liberation from suffering, though. It's like because you're removing identification with what's occurring in the body.
Yeah, totally.
So I guess the question was a curiosity around a more feminine way of liberating oneself from suffering. Because I feel like Vipassana is a very masculine practice. You're sitting, it's almost militant in a way. And so there is a curiosity, because sometimes when I look at the women on the other side, you know, either they're doing their kundalini things or they're moving about, like it's almost like there's less of a ability, and it's a generalization here that I'm speaking into, but to actually follow the practice as the men would. So the inquiry that I've been playing with is what is the feminine approach, you know?
Yeah, you know, ecstatic dance looks like a lot of fun compared to Vipassana. You know, I go and I'll dance it up all day. But one, I think that there are more inherently masculine and feminine approaches. Two, I think a real practice has the balance of both. Vipassana, in its very nature, has awareness, masculine, and equanimity, feminine. And so the thing that we're finding when we sit to practice Vipassana is actually we're all very depleted on the feminine. Because we start to sharpen the masculine and be able to feel, but our ability to be able to feel and not react is actually very weak. Just to let it be, you know, shout out to the Beatles. What you'll find the deeper you go into Vipassana is it starts with that penetration into the masculine because we need to sharpen the knife. Let's say that willpower is the first strength, the first skill that we need to learn. Because without that willpower, we cannot choose what we're doing. All the other things, the program will choose what you're doing, and that's what you programmed yourself with for your whole life. So that's going to happen. So we need that first to consciously have the choice. And that puts you in conflict with all of your programs. So again, in a masculine way, you need to be able to face that. But then as you practice Vipassana more and more, the pain becomes less prevalent. Actually, you get to a point where you love it. And that like you're bored, done with it, blah, blah, blah. Then after that, you love it. The pain's just another thing to love in you. It's another avenue of what you're feeling. And then the practice is just degrees of ecstasy. It gets ecstatic. And then you'll find it becomes more feminine. Because at first you're making it happen and you're training yourself to make it happen. Then you're letting it happen. And you'll find it's like, there's actually just, then it's more of a reaction to sit still than it is to let the thing move within you. And that movement might not manifest externally, but you'll feel it internally. There's just the spirit moving in you, and all you're doing is you're letting it move and being aware of it. And that's much more feminine. Because you're a receptacle then. And the thing is, that is tough to climb that mountain to get to that point where that's your primary experience. And so a lot of people have to go through those steps, and we have to cleanse ourselves of the rest of it to be able to get to the point where we can just experience that.
I agree with a lot of that. I think the main thing is, you want to become a focused individual with willpower and not get sucked into stories. That is a extremely important thing on the path to gradually liberating from suffering. I do think, however, I guess looking at my own journey, there were times where, I was going through these ego deaths gradually over time. I remember the first ego death I experienced was, when I was like 23 years old. And it's like I'd built a very successful business, and then I ended up, but I was doing it whilst experiencing bipolar. Like I had a diagnosis for bipolar type 1. And so I'd have these huge swings of emotions, up and down, up and down, up and down. So every time I would make money, I'd just manically go and spend it, and then I'd lose everything. And then I'd go make a bunch more money, and then I'd lose it all over again. And I remember there was a time where I was in a foreign country. I'd run out of money to feed myself. I ran out of money to sleep as well, and pay my team and everything. So I remember in that moment I sat down and I really allowed myself to be fully present with myself. And I recognized how much I'd identified with having money and being a business owner. And all of my self-worth came from the amount of money that I had. And I just broke down into tears. And there was like a death of an identity that happened in that moment. And then there was like a liberation of energy in many ways. And I experienced countless of these subtle like ego deaths. They weren't full-on dissolutions, but they were just slowly but surely bringing me to closer truth in some ways. And can't even remember what I was going to say here. Yeah, I guess I feel like my approach to eventually having that dissolution was really going into stories. Like I was just living as Leo, and I was just feeling all of the pain and the suffering and crying for hours in my room for months on end. I was really going into that. And that finally led into that spontaneous awakening. So I don't feel like there is one way of getting there. And I feel like, there is the masculine approach of just watching and staring at it. And then I also think there is a feminine approach of going into the feelings and losing oneself to the inner child and the story.
You should listen to that back after we're done with this. And all you did is just describe the process of Vipassana, but just concertina it out, extend it out. And so we don't have the months and the years on the mat in the retreat. We have 10 days. And so all you're doing with Vipassana is you're condensing the experience to, okay, I'm ready to face the primary story that is my thing. And so to face that story, I need to go a layer deeper to the emotion, and I need to go a layer deeper to the sensation, and I'm ready to get into that thing as fast as possible. Or I have the choice to go back to my life, let it play out, and let myself basically use exactly the same tool, but at the speed of life. And so Vipassana just gives us an opportunity to condense that experience. And I'm not saying that it's wrong to live through it. At sometimes, sometimes you get to a point where you're facing a thing and you're like, actually, I want to live through this. I don't want to meditate through this. And let me do this at the speed of life. And let me face it in slow motion as life becomes. Or I can go and I can sit down in Vipassana and I can really face this thing. I'm ready. I'm ready for the essence of it, not the narrative of it. You know, not the being an actor in a TV show of it. I'm ready to recognize that I'm not just the actor. Yes, I'm the actor, but I'm also the director. And I'm also the script writer. And I'm also the audience. And so at some point, do I want to stop playing this movie? Or is it another time? Is the show going to go on? Or is it time to wrap this one up?
Makes sense. Yeah, I don't disagree. I would like to hear from the audience as well. I know there are some people that have
is the stories, it's the density. It feels blinding, palpable, and debilitating to stand in. Like you said, it's there, it's empty, and it's full, right? And it's just through the light of awareness that that choice lies with you in every moment. So like you were speaking into, Leo, it's like, is it reactive or is it just consciously active, right? So I'm curious, from this place of this choice that we always have, how would you say that Vipassana prepares you to make that choice and like be intimate with it?
It's funny because we talk about exactly that quote, except for from what I talk about when I talk about running by Haruki Murakami, which he quotes it from I think long distance runner or something that he's talking about, an endurance athlete. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And the thing about the light and the darkness, the Buddha says that every phenomenon experienced from beginning to end fully is empty, but produces wisdom. And the word in Buddhism for emptiness also means fullness, because it's empty of everything else but pure consciousness. So you've literally just like summed those things up here, and I think your answer is in your question, Justice. So it's really just that Vipassana is the art of doing that. It's the art of feeling something so completely that you make the space for your consciousness to be able to fully experience it, and then anything fully experienced becomes inherently empty of anything but that consciousness.
Tiniest little thing on this. I know we don't have a mic. It's okay. The singular is the most. The all is singular. In that way, the most complex is the most simple. The most full is the most empty. This came to me while we were having a chat the other day. We were around the table.
Yeah, beautiful. This gent in front of Justice wanted to talk as well. Thank you for that, Justice. Amazing. Always insightful, bro.
This guy here with the lovely hairstyle.
Hello. I would like to ask you, how would you start on building a non-dual society that would be ready to evolve internally and externally?
Is that to me or to both of us?
Sorry?
I think we have different answers to that, so we could both answer it. I mean, personally, I wouldn't. You know, I'm not much of a... I've accepted that community building is an aspect of my character, and I just let it be an aspect of my character, and I do it from that angle, but I don't really care about building a community. I feel like any attempt to try to govern a group of people and push them in a direction inherently starts to lead away from their authentic expression. And so I'm not saying that the attempt shouldn't be made, but to me, I think what I'm more interested in doing is exploring the tools that lead towards that and letting everyone have the choice to be able to use them. What I do like to do is, what I've realized I like to do more and more, is I like to build spaces and systems that become a funnel for consciousness. And like you're in one right now, right? And so there's a lot of surfers that live in Uluwatu. And when I first moved here and I built this place, it was mainly surfers that would come here. And I knew some old surfers and they're friends with the other surfers in there. And they didn't want me to build this place. They're like, Dave, you're going to bring all the hippies down to Uluwatu. You're going to ruin the place. You know, they didn't like any of that. There's going to be a bunch of people meditating here. We just want to stare at the waves. And it's like, that's the feedback I would get from the surfers, right? This morning, there was one of those old surfers on the cliff face practicing Qigong. And not because any one of the hippies here or me taught him Qigong, it's because slowly through the process of people coming to the space, they start to move in a certain direction of growth. And as Justice said before, everything moving up the ladder starts to unify, right? There's some beautiful things that surfers have about their characters, personalities, habits, same thing with meditators and everything like that. And so I feel like if you build a space or a system that incentivizes people towards growth, you're naturally going to do that thing that you want to do, and to be able to create funnels for consciousness down into the world. Does that make sense? Yeah. Do you have an answer to that one, Leo?
Could you repeat the question? It was tied to building non-dual community, but I didn't fully get it. Yeah, I totally agree. I think the first step for me is finding a tribe of authentic beings. They say on the scale of consciousness that authenticity is actually higher vibration than love. And so I feel like if you can get a group of beings that are willingness to fully be honest with self and with others, that is like the foundation of building a tribe like that. So that's really my perspective on it. And I think we're doing that now. You know, I think we are bringing these authentic, real, honest beings. They're just naturally coming into the space. Here they are. So yeah, and I think from that, with the willingness to inquire, the willingness to look at truth, gradually consciousness starts to raise in those spaces. And yeah, I believe the potential is unlimited from there, you know? So that's what I would say.
And it's a great topic, not just a great question. And so to answer it less personally, because maybe you are a community builder and you do like to manage people, unlike me, then maybe you could start by doing what Leo said, and then maybe you can bring them all together with a bunch of practices that naturally elevate consciousness. Because you're not just going to do Vipassana all day, right? I mean, you can, but you're not going to be sitting there doing Vipassana all day. You can also do ecstatic dance. You can also do yoga together. You can also make sure everyone's eating organic food. You can also be working outside, getting enough sun, doing healthy, constructive things together. You can also be empowering creativity, so everyone has an opportunity to be able to bring new forms into the world and express all this energy they're building. Then you can also potentially create networking systems around the world where you can take everything you've learned there and spread them and scale them to other places, where then you've got a broad network around the globe and you're building havens for consciousness instead of the opposite of it. And that would be one way of going about starting to accelerate global evolution, right? He's going to give you the mic so everyone can hear.
Hi, everyone. So it's just something that came to my mind right now, hearing what you said before. And actually, it's my own story, because you said like you have an allergy to shrimps or something. So I had an allergy to gluten when I was a baby. So I was like on diet for maybe 13 years. And so I was like from baby to like preschool and all of that. So I was 12, 13. And one day, I don't know what happens to me, but I was just fed up with everything because I couldn't eat anything what other children would eat. Like I was very restricted. So I remember I came back home and I said to my mom, well, you know what? I'm not going to go on diet anymore. Like if I have to die, it's fine. Like I'm going to die anyway. And I'm okay with that. So she looked at me and she said, okay, so I think now you understand what you have, and it's up to you, actually. You're responsible for whatever you do. And so I remember I went outside, I just bought everything I never had before, and I started eating. And 1 month later, I went back to see my doctor, and he told me, actually, you have nothing anymore. You're like cured, you know? And since then, I never had allergy from gluten anymore. And what I'm trying to say is that, like, I think there's at some point in life, whatever disease you have, it's always related to something, and there's always a trigger to how your body reacts to it. And right now, I also have like a disease, which is endometriosis. And I've been trying to cure it. And actually, I've been trying to more understand what causes every disease in the body, which is always, for me, related to emotions, your trauma, anything. That's what causes like imbalance in your energy and body. And for me, like, I don't know your opinions, both of you, but the body, how it reacts or how it develops disease, it's always, I think, related to your experience in life. And for me, nothing is permanent as long as you try to understand where it comes from and try to actually heal the cause, not like the consequence, which is the disease itself, you know. And even cancer or anything, like, I mean, there are some worst cases, of course, but like, I think that's my opinion from my experience. So I don't know what you think about this. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess on my end, the only thing that comes to my mind is I had many health issues from age 21. Started off with about 7 concussions in the space of like 2 years, and then a number of different antibiotic cycles as well. So I got to a point where by the time I was like 22, I literally developed an intolerance to everything. So it was like I would get a histamine reaction and like a fogginess and a fatigue from even carrots, boiled carrots. So over time, I actually started to build a fear in my body just at the idea of eating. And I think as the years went by, what I started to do was just recognize the fear in my body and less identify with it. Very similar to what you did. Even when we were doing the Vipassana, like I still actually have a fear of eating in public, which is a very weird fear because of the possibility of having some kind of response. But what I would do is I would actually just go and sit in the ballet and I would just eat my food in front of other people, feeling this fear and feeling these sensations and gradually allowing them to just dissolve over time. So I resonate with what you shared, and I think it's beautiful that you were able to heal that. In terms of healing illness and healing sickness, yeah, I do think that, again, sickness originates from a deeply embedded story that's in the nervous system and is based off of some kind of experience that we had when we were younger. And so, yeah, I think it's a matter of going into that and rewriting the story and recognizing that we're not a victim to our bodies. We're not a victim to the sensations or symptoms that are occurring in the body. We're able to become intimate with them just as we would in Vipassana. And gradually over time, I believe that we can heal anything. Not long before this, I actually felt like health issues were a karmic thing. And I felt like some beings just came here to experience more suffering than others. And they just came here to feel more pain and more discomfort. And actually that can raise your consciousness a lot quicker as well. If you're dealing with some kind of suffering, you're more likely to actually go into really feel it and liberate yourself from that. So I think seeing it as a gift as well in some ways can be a very powerful thing to do. There are many times I looked in like health communities and I saw how much of victim consciousness there was. There's like, I have this health issue, so therefore I cannot do this. And so I think, yeah, just to summarize my perspective is like obliterating the victim consciousness on all levels and still going into life without the stories as to what this health condition is doing to me, That's what comes up.
Yeah, I think that's very well said on both sides. I guess all I really have to add to that is that I think a lot of us probably agree that everything is transmutable, but it's just, is it transmutable by that person at that time? And it's just allowing for the understanding that it might not be and allowing everyone their experience of that. Like, I know people who've struggled through cancer and made it through quite extraordinary circumstances and through some unusual methods. And I know other people who haven't. And I think anyone in that situation, if it's not me, right, I might have a different standard for myself going through it. But if we're talking about understanding and compassion for other people, it's allowing them the sovereignty over their own experience, whether they've got the mastery over it or not. Because I know there's I've been a support person and a care person for a few people in quite difficult circumstances. And they get a lot of opinions, right? And they get a lot of this perspective. And there can be, which I share, actually, but there can be this thing of making people feel guilty for not being able to transmute their ailment. And ultimately, if someone we love is going through something like that, I think the best thing that we can do is love them through it. And everything else is just is extra on top of that, right? And so I think that even though we might have our perspectives on it, I think when it's projected outwards onto others, I personally find it better just to clean that slate and recognize that it's not my perspective really that matters to them. That's for them to go through. And for me, all I really have to say to anyone else that isn't me in that situation is just that I would love them through it. That's all.
Hello, we missed you. So first of all, I really thank you for having this space. Like, I drive 2 hours plus to come here because I feel this truth community. So I love your authenticity.
We love you
takes
too, Dima.
courage to express your things and ask about it. So like, thank you very much for this. And I truly resonate with what you said about health issues is a karmic thing, and I experienced that personally. Every woman in my family had lung issues and throat issues. Like, it's a standard. If a woman in our family gets a mild flu, then the voice is gone and the cough stays for months. And I realized that, and it took me like maybe 38 years to go through that. But when this pattern is broken, then they cannot say, the woman, that everyone in the family has this. So it's heavy. It's really heavy, and I truly feel that. But that I have a question actually to you about Vipassana. Hearing you talking made me think really about what I was doing just an hour ago. So I arrived here early. Normally, I like to socialize. I drive here 2 hours to meet people. I'm so excited to meet everybody, but I was not called to talk to anybody, really. I was just called directly to the beach, and I was hearing the waves. And as every wave hits, it was like a hammer nailing a pain deep into my heart. A wave deep. And I feel it's not, I cannot pinpoint it. It's like deep. I don't know where is it from, what it carries. So I was just hearing pain after pain. But then I started singing light language. I was just talking like whatever came through. And hearing you talking about Vipassana now made me question and spiritual bypassing. Did I do a spiritual bypassing when I was singing? And instead of just going after where is this pain that is in my heart going? Or was it more the feminine way of using it and dancing? I would like to hear your opinion about that. And thank you for everything.
I feel like there are some things that are just better experienced by each individual and lived through by each individual, and they don't need to be defined as this is the answer, that's not the answer, right? I've been through phases in my life where I felt more connected to nature than I did to other humans. And I would go and I would just spend time in nature, and I'd feel like the communication of the wind was actually more inherent to me than speaking. And speaking started to feel a bit alien. And I think the world is full of beautiful things like this if we want to go and explore them. And the beauty of all of this is that we all just have the option to do that. So I just say explore whatever your frame of experience is and see where it takes you.
Ignore the feeling and just go into expression, dancing, instead of looking through it really.
It didn't sound to me like you're ignoring the feeling. Maybe I misunderstood the story. It sounded to me like you were deeply touched by the essence of the waves and you had something you wanted to express through it. I've been sitting here the whole time just thinking about songs, actually, that were connected to lyrics of what everyone was saying. So it's like I have a lot of music and songs come through all the time. You know, I was going to start singing November Rain by Guns N' Roses a minute ago, but I didn't think anyone would get the reference to the answer of the question. So I just gave an answer instead. And I think there's a lot of different forms of communication that just naturally come out.
Thank you guys so much. Always great insights, and we learn a lot. I wanted to add to the topic of the disease because as a hypnotherapist, I do help people with the disease, and we know. I mean, we can say we know that many diseases, they have roles. And it's coming from the subconscious and negative beliefs that when you heal that, you can heal the disease. And there are like three things that disease are doing for us. It's to either punish us or to get attention or to, the third one I forget, but it's helping you. So whenever you get to the root cause of why you have that disease, you can cure the disease, even the ones that we think you cannot cure, like cancer or other diseases that are like deeper, even the genetic ones, you can absolutely heal that. It's at the end, I think, comes to the choice, because when the disease can have a lot of benefits for one person. Like Dolores Cannon says that she says like all the diseases, like you can heal all of them. And I think that's, I'm saying this just to give hope, because physical pains and diseases, sometimes we feel like hopeless. And I just want to share that insight, so that someone that's going through a physical pain, it gives them that insight that or hope that they can heal it and that they're not stuck with it. And whatever you do with the mind, because the mind creates it, because at one point in your life, it thought that, oh, if I create that disease, I can get attention or like support or whatever role it has. So you can definitely get down to the role that it has for you, and you can clear that out. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. This gentleman over here, Sterling. And how about we make that the last one, unless he opens up a massive bucket for someone else to respond to, and we do some meditation.
First off, happy birthday, Justice. Thanks for inviting me. I love you, brother. The question is straight at you. Maybe a little context of when I was listening. The notion of leadership, you said that multiple times. And even the notion of you speaking of how you show up. And it's not about doing it. I felt this beingness of like, oh, this is who I'm being, and the doing comes. I mean, that's my work. It's like shifting people from human doings to human beings. And I was just watching this whole time. I could feel it. And I think it's interesting to hear people talk about karma and like I hear punishment and all these things. And I don't know what it was, but there's a transmutation of karma to dharma, right? Which I hear it from everyone. I'm looking. I could feel it. I'm curious if you felt that transmutation, and specifically, and I said this to Justice. I'm like, quote, God gave you gifts, you must give them to the world. Talking about the vessel. So the question for you is, can you pinpoint that time where like, these are my God-given, God, love, Brahman, whatever, the force. Can you pinpoint that moment when you discover, oh, I'm not doing stuff. This is who I'm being, and these are my gifts, and this is how I serve. Can you pinpoint that?
Yeah, I know the exact moments. And it's funny because I was going to say this on the course, but there were just too many points to stack in some of the talks. So there are the two stories I didn't tell actually that were in moments, and one of them's for Sterling actually. So I was going to say it. The first thing is that my family had a lot of drug addiction and suicide and abuse and violence in it. And sadly, my cousin, the one that was closest to me, he committed suicide after he just turned 13. And so I was 11, about to turn 12. And it didn't just devastate me, it devastated my whole family. Like, he was a very big personality. And to have him die like that in such an outrageous way and such a tragic way, it just tore the family apart. And it just left a massive wound there. And the whole family suffered depression. You know, we just existed in a haze of depression over the whole thing. And I was no different. I was exactly the same. But I vowed to myself after seeing that and seeing what it did to his mother and my aunt and a few other people, I was like, I'll never commit suicide. It was the first thing. And I didn't realize until then how much I'd entertained it as a kid and how much I'd been through it. And there were other members of my family then that still did attempt to commit suicide a bunch of times. And luckily, none of them succeeded. And there was a lot of other things that happened as well that it's not really useful to go into. But then after a few years of just living with that and seeing the pain that that caused and rippled out to other people, I just wanted to start doing something about it. And I've stopped being so swamped with my own pain. I came to a crux point where I realized I was. And there was this one day where I felt like my pain, from like Eckhart Tolle, my pain body pulled me down to the floor. And I didn't go to school that day. I was the last one in the house. And I laid there when I was 14. And I felt like I was just grappling with this shadow. And I realized what it was. That all this fear and hate and blame I had was projecting all of my problems onto other people. You know, my friends for being a bunch of violent street kids, my brothers and sisters for not being there for me, my mom for not raising us right, my dad for not being around, the government for not solving problems, God for creating this world. And then I just laid there and something just struck me and it started to release a thing in me, which was that if I didn't get up off this floor, I wouldn't face any of those problems. I could just lay here. And realizing that made me realize that means that I'm creating them. Because, yeah, if I leave this house today, I'm going to probably fight multiple times in the life I was living at the time. And I'm going to have to face that. But if I didn't walk through that alleyway, or I'm not hanging around on street corners at 2 a.m. in the morning, would I get into those fights? You know, like they exist, but I have to meet them 50% of the way for them to come to me. Maybe if I spread love to my brothers and sisters, maybe they wouldn't be throwing hate back at me. You know? Maybe the same thing. Maybe God has given me all the tools I need to live a happy life, and I'm not using them right. And so I realized that I'm the baker of this cake, I'm the creator of this life, and I'm putting the ingredients in it. And I didn't know how to make a good life, but I knew a lot of ways how to make a bad one. So then after that, it was just I realized that I could tweak the ingredients of my life. And that meant that the degree to which I blamed myself for a problem is the degree to which I had responsibility over it and creative power over it. And so that word that we're avoiding, blame, you know, fault, actually it's empowering, because if you take the blame, you have the power, but you can't have one without the other. And so that was the big one. And then in turning the karma to the dharma, let's say that was the emotional side. And then the dharma is that then I started to be able to look into methods of healing suffering and how I could specifically for my family and other people. Obviously, that led to Vipassana, but it also manifested itself physically. I had these crazy migraines from when I was 7 years old, and I was stuffed full of painkillers. And funnily enough, it was when I was 14 that I decided I'm going to stop taking the painkillers. And then that happened. And I was just like, I'm just going to face life. There must be something wrong with the way I'm living that I've got all of this pain. But then it went down to my spine. And I injured my spine and I twisted it to the point where I couldn't even lay on the ground without feeling pain. So I'd lay there at night, an insomniac, and just wait till I was exhausted enough to pass out. But even breathing hurt. And I learned to deal with it, but I'd wake up every morning in pain, both depressed and in pain, and I'd just get myself together to be able to face the day and to be able to handle things. And I got to the point where I could handle the pain, I could carry it, but it was there on the inside, you know. Then one day I walked into a Vipassana center, thanks to my good friend Maxim Lewis, who led me there after I'd been through a lot of other things in my life. And I realized that pain was a superpower, because everyone else, when they sat down, they were in pain. But I was in pain when I got up as well. So then this whole thing about using the technique to go into the pain wasn't something that I could avoid. I was going to be in the pain anyway. So then I just went deeper and deeper into it, and I had this counterbalance of intense pain that I'd be feeling all the time anyway. So then I could use this technique in the way it wanted to be used, and I could accelerate it. And then what started to happen is not only could I feel this pain running through me and in my spine and in the other parts, then my body started to adjust from the inside. And my spine started to realign, and all of this tension and pain, both physical and emotional, I'd been carrying started to dissolve away. And the reason why I teach Vipassana now is that I know it can help to solve those problems. Not because someone's told me a story, but because I've seen it work within me. And now I can sleep at night. And I was told I would never weightlift again with my injuries in my spine. I got to the point of being able to deadlift nearly 3 times my own body weight. And I can sit in a meditation posture and I feel great and ecstatic and I'm not in pain anymore. So then I had those 2 forms of pain as my karma, let's say, and then transmuting them made them my dharma. And that's why I do the work that I do. So sorry for the long answer, but that's the real answer.
I do want to say, because there's this mention of like stories and like gifts. I know I'm a storyteller, and it's like that's why I asked that, because again, like I feel like hopefully that inspires other people to like know that, even that you know that too, like the karma can be, everything can be transmuted. So thank you for sharing that, and I want to talk to you after this whole bit.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure. We're here. And remember, Dima just drove down here for 2 hours to speak to all of you. So, make sure you connect with her after, unless she's immersed in the waves again. Shall we meditate, ladies and gentlemen? Yes? All right. Let's do this. So pick your best posture or your best dance moves if you want to do a moving meditation. But either way, just let yourself settle and start to sink into yourself. Feel the breath coming in and out of your nostrils. And be aware that by starting to shift your awareness towards the breath and just focusing on the breath, you're not shutting out the rest of the world. You're just letting it be. And you're letting your mind rest by not being pulled in one direction or the other by all the habits that you usually react to. You're taking a moment to just feel the breath. And using that moment to put everything else down. Let the breath be as natural as possible. If you start to feel it and you realize that you're controlling it, restricting it, regulating it, then just stop. Let it be exactly what it is. If it's fast, let it be fast. If it's slow, let it be slow. Deep, shallow, faint, or heavy. Whatever it is absolutely fine. Your job isn't to control it. It's just to feel it. So let's do that for a few minutes together. if you start to feel your mind wanting to move to the top of your head, just let it move up. Let your awareness move up. And feel whatever sensations are on the top of your head. Or maybe a little above it. And as we feel into ourselves, let's get rid of that misconception that we started this with. We're not feeling and not reacting to our sensation to repress it or to constrain it. We're feeling and not reacting to let it fully be, so we can feel more and we can enjoy it more. We can taste it better. Now let's transition from this meditation and truth talk to Justice's birthday party. Because in the wise words of the late Rick James, it's a celebration, bitches. Thank you all for coming.
Yes. We have a cake that is set up in the ballet for you, so we can all scran on that together, bypass our emotions with some sugar. Yeah, fuck it, I'll just give it now. Yesterday I saw that Justice had like he had like 4 toes hanging out today. So and like 2 on the other foot as well. So I got you a really special birthday present. These are some fresh socks. That's actually so good. They've been personally blessed by Losho himself, so feel like you're walking on water.
Nice.
Yes.
I like the camera socks, bro. Yo, I'm gonna rock these right now.
Good.
Run it up.
But yeah, so I guess we'll head over to the ballet. We'll eat some cake. Fire will be open as well, and the spa will be open until midnight. So yeah, let's go vibe. Reese will be on the decks as well, so I'm excited for that. All right, blessings. Appreciate you all. And
Shall we sing Justice Happy Birthday
Let's
before
do
the
that.
music starts?
Yeah, let's do that.
Who's got a good voice? Make yourself known. Come on, don't be shy.
Hey to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Justice. Happy birthday to you.
Wish.
I was sat here with my friend Adrian, who came from a very, very long way away to come visit here in Bali on a whim. And he's a little piece of home for me. And as I was sat here just chatting to him and reminiscing about what it's like to be home and just how beautiful that space of home is, I looked around at the Astana. I saw Leo and Reese and Jay and his lovely lady and all of these beautiful friends that I've made and all of the faces who've just been so kind to me, even just today. And I felt in my heart for the first time that this was really home too. And it moved. For my whole life, I've never really felt like I've had sincere friends. And amongst all the love that I've been so blessed to be given, the last 4 months in Bali have shown me the power of true friendship. And I remember one of your stories, Dave. One of the first things that really, really hit me. You were speaking about Aaron and how the only thing that matters about a human being is their human decency and how they treat each other, and that our friendships that we cultivate here are worth so much more than we could ever sell them for or sacrifice them for or end them for. Thank you for teaching me that. And thank you for my beautiful friends, Leo, Jay, Emma, to Reese, to Thor, to Shiva, and to so many of the beautiful faces here, and to Adrian for coming to visit me, and Augustus for coming to visit, and all of these beautiful human beings here today. And to you, Dave, for your friendship and for your mentorship. Y'all have cracked a heart open that I thought would never be open.